Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here, and in today's video we have the Game Week 8 transfer tips where I speak about some of the more popular transfers in and out of your FPL teams and I give my opinions on them. So if you guys do enjoy this one, please do drop a like, please do subscribe as well, and let's get on with the video. So the first player I want to speak about today is Diaz. As of recording, he's had 197k transfers out, and that is the highest for Game Week 8 so far. So that is the highest sold player now, and I think there's good reason why. In the past 2 game weeks he's blanked, and I'll hold my hands up and say that I was one of those who brought him in on a Game Week 6 wildcard, and he blanked against Wolves obviously, and then come Game Week 7 he didn't start against Crystal Palace, and then he came on for a 1-pointer. So these past 2 game weeks have been very disappointing as Diaz owners. You look at the fixtures moving forward, it's not great. It's Chelsea, Arsenal, Brighton and Aston Villa. So not only are the fixtures tough, but I don't think you can even guarantee he's going to start in all of these games, because you add into the mix Champions League, which is going to be happening slot right between these kind of Premier League games that you see here on screen. So I think with minutes being a risk and fixtures being difficult, it makes a lot of sense to just move him on, coupled with the fact that there are quite a number of good cheaper midfield options such as Brennan Johnson, Maddison, which we'll speak about in a bit. But with all these options kind of popping up, it just makes a lot more sense to just offload Diaz and go for other players. Something I'd like to maybe learn from my wildcard 6 mistake, because I did have Diaz in my Game Week 6 wildcard, is that maybe I should have looked a little bit long term. I always knew that Diaz was going to be a transfer out of my team sooner rather than later. I always knew he wasn't guaranteed for minutes. I also kind of felt like it was kind of a short-term punt, but I think we could have had a different conversation right now if he did well against Wolves. But looking into the future, I think on wildcards later down the line, I probably look to go a little bit longer term, and I think that's maybe something I learned from this kind of Diaz move as well. But if not, I think transferring him out in Game Week 8 now makes a lot of sense, and we'll discuss more of the options and replacements for Diaz later on in this video. So the next 2 players I want to speak about are Brennan Johnson and James Maddison. So both of them from Spurs, and I'd say Spurs are a team on the rise at the moment. Yes, I know they lost their recent game against Brighton just before the international break, but I wouldn't put too much weight onto that game. I don't think my opinion on them has changed much, in that I think they are a team that still can be gotten at the back. I think they always have that knack of being quite leaky, and they can concede goals now and then. So that's what we saw when they lost 3-2 to Brighton. They were winning 2-0, but they conceded 3 goals and they lost the game. So that being said, I think the attack is where Spurs, I feel, are playing in full flow at the moment, and that is where the investment for Spurs assets should really go into. So Brennan Johnson and James Maddison, they offer very different things from this Spurs team. So I want to break it down in today's graphic here. So Brennan Johnson is at 6.5 million and he's at 153k transfers in. James Maddison is at 7.5 million and he's at 40k transfers in. So one look at the price point, I can already see that Brennan Johnson is 1 million cheaper. So obviously in terms of cost saving, Brennan Johnson does that for you. And also you account for the fact that later down the road, you probably want a Palmer, for example, a Saka to go along with it, maybe an Arsenal defender, and then up front you have Haaland. This 1 million cost saving can actually go a really long way. So I think from that perspective, the logical choice is, to take the cost saving and go for Brennan Johnson. But it's not as simple as that. I think to break it down further, we need to look at the returns they've been getting, as well as how they play in terms of their on-field play style that translates into FPL points. So I look at the data here. Brennan Johnson and James Maddison have both been getting a lot of returns across the past 6 game weeks. 3 goals and 2 assists for Brennan Johnson, 2 goals and 2 assists for James Maddison. So very good number of returns for both of them. And I look at the XG and XA numbers. For me, this is where I think the difference lies, in that Brennan Johnson is more of an attacking goal threat than James Maddison. So Brennan Johnson has had 2.99 expected goals across the past 6 game weeks, as compared to James Maddison, who has had 2.08 expected goals. So one look, I can already see in terms of a goal threat, Brennan Johnson is the one to go for. But the converse is also true, where you look at the expected assist numbers. James Maddison is much more creative. He's putting up 1.82 expected assists across the past 6 game weeks, compared to Brennan Johnson, who really pales in comparison in this aspect. where he's getting 0.35 expected assists. So already based on the data, I can see that James Maddison is a more creative asset than Brennan Johnson. And you look at the heat maps here as well, it also tells that similar story in that Brennan Johnson is more of the finisher, where his heat map encroaches into the penalty box much more so than James Maddison, who kind of operates more in the left of the midfield kind of a region. So I think in general, even on the eye test and looking at all this data and heat maps, you can obviously tell that as FPL assets, James Maddison is one that it's not so much the player who's going to score goals week in, week out, but more of a kind of an assister or maybe a creative asset for the team, and Brennan Johnson being the one of finishers. So ultimately, at the end of the day, when we're looking at FPL assets, we want the goal scorers, because goals are worth more points than assists. 5 points for goals and 3 points for assists here. So in general, I would say from that perspective, I guess there is logical sense to go for Brennan Johnson. At 6.5 million also, you take the cost saving and the greater goal threat. That is the more logical pick. But I think I want to just make the case for Maddison as well, because I don't think he's an option that we should, completely shut down, in that even though he is 1 million more expensive, James Maddison is on set pieces, whether it's corners, free kicks, etc. So that's also a different way that James Maddison can get points, and you are obviously then having to pay a premium for that. And in this case, it is 1 million more expensive. So I think there is a case for James Maddison. I don't think he's a player that I completely rule out. And even though in my own team, I have Brennan Johnson here, currently in game week 8 now, and I think I'll keep him for the next few game weeks, I think there is a case for James Maddison. So let me know down in the comments below which of these assets you prefer, and if you're going for a Spurs midfielder, which one you're transferring into your teams. If not, let's have a look at the next player. So the next player I want to speak about is Raul Jimenez at 5.6 million, and he's had 87k transfers in so far. He's someone that has gotten a lot of FPL managers' attention because of a couple of things. The 3 goals and 1 assist that you see on screen all have come in the past 4 game weeks, 1 return in each of those games. Now that being said as well, he's currently the starting striker for Fulham. And Fulham in general are quite a decent attacking side, I would say. We've seen that this season as well. So I think that is why people are starting to think about Raul Jimenez as the budget forward to go for. Fixtures moving forward are decent as well. It's Aston Villa at home, Everton away, Brentford at home, Crystal Palace away, and Wolves at home in the next 5. So it's decent enough, and I do think there is good consideration that should be given to Raul Jimenez. The only thing I would say is, in my mind, Raul Jimenez is always someone that is 1 or 2 bad performances away from losing his spot to Rodrigo Muniz, who does exist and is sitting on the bench. Now you would remember that at the start of the season, Rodrigo Muniz was the one that was starting as the Fulham number 9, but he obviously did not have a very good start to the season. He didn't return in a good number of games, and he lost his spot to Raul Jimenez, who has since popped up with a couple of goals and kept that number 9 spot as the starting striker now. So you would think that, with that kind of concept and thinking in mind, the same could happen for Raul Jimenez, in that if he does blank for a couple of games in a row, or just has a couple of bad performances back to back, that he's always, going to lose his spot sooner or later to Rodrigo Muniz. But obviously now at this point in time, you wouldn't worry about that because he is someone that is in form at the moment. But with these kind of budget forwards that play for sides like Fulham, they would generally go through spells where you don't expect them to return every single game. There will be spells they don't return, in which case you would then always be worried about whether Raul Jimenez is going to lose his spot to Rodrigo Muniz, and it's just going to be added stress onto your team as you're setting it for the deadline. So I think in general, 5.6 million is not a lot of investment. It's not the worst thing in the world if you need to bench Raul Jimenez if you're afraid he doesn't start. But I think just something that, I would acknowledge if I'm buying into Raul Jimenez, that this will be at the back of my mind. That being said, I'm not trying to scaremonger or anything. I think in the next few games, he's still probably going to be the starting number 9 for Fulham. And numbers-wise, they are looking decent as well. He's taking a good number of shots every game and is always generally in the box. So he's taken 15 shots and 14 of them are in the box. So his heat map as well, you know how he operates, Raul Jimenez, as a kind of a point man, a number 9, a true and true number 9 as well. So I would say, you know what you get with Raul Jimenez. It's just that worry at the back of my mind that would maybe put me off a little bit. But I would also understand why the 87k managers have already transferred him in, and I don't mind him as a pick as well. So let me know what you think in the comments down below, and let's have a look at the next pick. So the next player I have is Liam Delap, also at 5.6 million, and he's had 117k transfers in so far. So I think I love to see that Liam Delap is someone that has come up as an option, simply because he is obviously playing for a newly promoted side in Ipswich, and I like to see that the newly promoted sides are taking it to the Premier League teams. Now, 4 goals in the past 6 game weeks for Liam Delap. He is also someone that has gotten quite a number of FPL managers' attention. Now, I look at the fixtures moving forward, it is quite good. It's Everton at home, Brentford away, Leicester at home, Tottenham away, and Manchester United at home. So all of those games, I don't, foresee it being super difficult for Ipswich to maybe nick a goal or two. Maybe they don't win the game completely, but Liam Delap has been someone that has really impressed me. I look at the numbers as well. They are pretty decent. 11 shots in the past 6 appearances pretty much means at least 2 shots every single game. So he's getting his shots away. As a striker, that's what you like. Now, expected goals wise, it's only 1.13. So you would think that there's a bit of over performance of late where he's gotten 4 goals, but the quality of chances wise is not as good. So that may be a little bit of a worrying sign, but that's it. I think I look at the eye test as well and the way that Liam Delap plays. I'm always quite impressed with how he operates, and he's very clinical as a striker, physically very strong as well. So I think he could do well against sides that maybe don't have as strong of a centre-back or maybe as physical of a centre-back that Liam Delap can really challenge with. So I think that's it. I do like him as an option. I also do think like there is some joy in just backing a pick that is, a little bit different from the norm in that he's only 4.8% owned. I don't think a lot of people will be going for him. So he's definitely going to still be a differential. And if the fixtures moving forward are good, which they are there, you could always go for him as a bit of a differential. So let me know what you think of Liam Delap in the comments below. I honestly don't mind him as an option, but I think something I would also think about is he's at 5.6 million. Same with Jimenez as well. I would also think, if I have that extra money in the bank, could I reach to someone at around the 6 million kind of a bracket? There's Chris Wood there, and the fixtures moving forward are also pretty decent for Chris Wood, and he is on penalties as well. So I think there is some conversations to be had as to if you're able to afford a little bit more money, could you go elsewhere? But if not, as objectively as an option, as an FPL asset, Liam Delap, I do like him. So let me know what you think about him in the comments down below. Are you going for him? And let's have a look at the next player. So next up is Mohamed Salah, and he has seen 135k transfers out so far. So just behind Luis Diaz, Salah is the next most transferred out player. And I think when I look at the fixtures moving forward, as we've seen with Diaz, they don't look very good. So I think it makes decent enough sense to be transferring Salah out. The main thing for me as to why I think he is a transfer out is because he's at 12.7 million. Generally, a player of that kind of a price point, I would be wanting to captain, at least in the next few game weeks if I have him. And that being said, I don't think when I look at the fixtures moving forward, there are actually games that I'd rather captain Salah over Haaland, for example, if I have Haaland in my team. So from that kind of a perspective, I think he's a straightforward sell. But then obviously it is not so clear-cut sometimes. So breaking it down into the different team structures that you guys have, if you have Salah in your team and selling him is part of a combination move to get, other mid-price forwards and midfielders, for example, then I would lean towards doing it. But say, for example, in Game Week 8 only, you are making one free transfer, and that is to do Salah to Cole Palmer. I actually don't really like that move, and in that situation, I'd rather keep Mohamed Salah, and it's simply because he is the one having the slightly better fixture in Game Week 8. He is playing at home, and Cole Palmer is playing Liverpool in that same game, obviously, but away from home, and you would obviously back Liverpool to do better than Chelsea in that game because it's at home for them, and I would say arguably Liverpool are the better side than Chelsea at this point in time. So in that respect, I think you see that, Salah to Cole Palmer is not a move that I would do. I would keep Salah. So it's really quite team dependent whether I think it makes sense to sell Salah now in Game Week 8 or maybe wait till Game Week 9 to drop off Salah. So let me know in the comments down below which of these categories you fall into. I would think that 135k of those people are also put off by Salah because of the blanks we've seen in the past few games, but I also want to remind people that Salah is a player that even though he does not play well, can still rake in FPL points. We've seen that in the past few seasons already. He can have an absolute stinker of a game, but he can obviously score a penalty and then wrap up the 3 bonus points as well and get 10 points. So I think he's still a very good FPL asset, objectively speaking, but I would think that for the vast majority of FPL managers right now, selling Salah is probably your key to unlocking all the mid-price options in the forward positions or the midfield positions, in which case I would lean towards selling Salah as well. So next up is Ait Nouri at 4.4 million. He's currently 2.5% owned and he has seen 40k transfers in so far in game week 8. So what has impressed me the most about Ait Nouri is that he's gotten 2 goals and 2 assists as a defender. So obviously, in terms of an FPL asset, we really like it when defenders get attacking returns, because when they get clean sheets to go along with it, those are double-digit hauls for them. So I really like the attacking threat from Ait Nouri, and something that also stands out to me is that he's gotten those goals and assists against difficult opponents, because so far, Wolves have had a really bad run of fixtures against teams like Liverpool, Chelsea and Arsenal that they've played in the first 7 game weeks already. So now in game week 8, they're going to clear Man City at home, which is essentially the last tough fixture for them. And from game week 9 onwards, they go on a very good run of fixtures. So again, another reason to maybe jump on the Ait Nouri train, with good fixtures lasting a very long period of time. So what has impressed me the most is I think the numbers that he's put up, which helps me to kind of think as well that moving forward he will be able to keep these numbers up. It's 1.01 expected goals and 0.47 expected assists. And this is truly remarkable because he's putting up better numbers than some of the mid-price midfielders that we are seeing at the moment. And it also kind of points to the fact that there's not too much of an overperformance in terms of the goals and assists he's been getting. So maybe moving forward, we will continue to see him put up these attacking numbers. And at the end of the day, he's at 4.4 million. Frees up so much money for you to do upgrades elsewhere. But in general, you just love a cheap defender that is so attacking, gets attacking returns, and they are real. We've seen that this season, 2 goals and 2 assists for him. And obviously, moving forward, fixtures being good means that he could also get clean sheets. So there's a lot to like about Ait Nouri. I love him as an option, and I think in general he will come into my team sooner rather than later to hop on the Wolves' good run of fixtures. So let me know what you think about Ait Nouri. Are you as hot on him as I am? And are you bringing him into your teams? If not, let's have a look at the last player. So finally, it's James Justin, who has already seen 127k transfers in so far in game week 8, and that is almost triple that of Ait Nouri. And I think that largely comes down to his double-digit hauls in the last 2 games. In game week 6, he scored 12 points against Arsenal, where he scored 2 goals. And then in game week 7, he got an assist and a clean sheet to get 10 points against Bournemouth. So very impressive performance from him over the past 2 game weeks. And you look at the fixtures moving forward in the next 3 game weeks is Southampton, Nottingham Forest and Ipswich. So it's really good fixtures for him. You could bench him against Manchester United and Chelsea. And then after that, the fixtures are also pretty good for a long period of time for Leicester. So I think James Justin is a decent enough long-term investment. The only thing I would say with him is I think there's a bit of an overperformance from him at the moment. You look at his numbers, and I think just as well we have seen Ait Nouri's numbers. You compare it to James Justin here. XG wise, James Justin has put up 0.25, and XA wise, he's seen 0.07 expected assist. So what that kind of tells me is that there is quite a big disparity in terms of the expected numbers and the actual numbers. Actual goal wise, he's got 2 goals only from a 0.25 expected goal kind of return, and 1 assist from a 0.07 expected assist kind of number. So I think in general, when I look at this, I don't think moving forward he will be able to keep this up. So my expectation of him moving forward is not that he's going to score double-digit hauls every single game week. So I would say that with James Justin, it's more his routes to points being attacking threat as well as keeping clean sheets that would make people go for him. But when I compare him to Ait Nouri, I do think I favour Ait Nouri a little bit more because he's the one that's putting up better numbers. And in terms of a defence, for Leicester and Wolves, expected goals conceded wise, Wolves had put up better numbers in the past few game weeks, and that is against tougher opposition. Leicester has actually conceded a greater number of expected goal conceded against slightly easier teams. So with that being said, I think when I compare the two, Wolves are the better defence, Ait Nouri is the better attacker, in which case I would probably still tend towards Ait Nouri as compared to James Justin. But I also do understand why people are going for him. just that I prefer Ait Nouri at this point. So let me know what you think about these two defenders that we just spoke about. If not, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please do drop a like. Please do subscribe as well. We are also doing a charity drive at the moment. If you guys haven't catch the previous video, we are doing a charity drive for Mindset, which is a mental health charity, something very close to my heart. So I will be donating 20 pence per new subscriber until we hit the 10k mark to Mindset charity. If you want to be a part of this, it's very simple. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button and I will be donating more money to them. If not, do drop a like on this video and I will catch you guys in more international break content for Game Week 8 coming very soon. Bye bye.